Welcome you all. So now we'll start with the fourth session for learning Perl language. This is our agenda. So first we will go through the control structures, and after that we will discuss on to the subroutines. So what are control structures? As most of you are familiar with different programming language, for example C, and in all of the languages you have some or other control structures. The same way in the Perl language we have the control structures like if else, and there is a little bit of difference how we actually do these kind of control structures in the Perl. So we'll go through first the if, else if and the else expression. So this is the expression, the statement for the condition. For the if, the expression, you mean to say the condition is checked, and after that the code will be run. Okay. For example, if we want to swap the two values after checking the condition, if the value of x is less, or you mean to say the value of y is greater than that of x, then we want to swap the values of x and y. Okay, so we will check with the condition x, the variable x, is it less than y, and if the condition satisfies, then we will go with the swapping those values of those variables. Okay, and you can also put compound conditionals, for example by using the ampersand and. Okay, so now here you can see that the conditions for checking the variable x and y is directly written, it's not put into parenthesis, because that operates on to the precedence, and the precedence for the less than or greater than operators is higher than that of AND operator. So this is for the if else. And the else part, for example, if there is a single statement to be executed for the if condition, you can write that without the curly braces, as you can see here, without the curly braces. So if this condition satisfies, the single statement will be executed. If there are multiple, so you need to use the curly braces. And the else if part, so it is like this. For example, you want to check, this is the code for the temperature. So if this condition satisfies, then this part of the code will be executed. Else if, as this is the difference of the else if, it is ELS IF. Okay, so if you write else if or ELSE, so that will also give an error in the Perl. So if this condition doesn't satisfy, then it will go for the else if condition, and if it satisfies, it will print and it will exit from this line itself and will go out of the loop. Okay, and it will start executing the further part of the code. And if this condition doesn't satisfy, you can have multiple else if, and for that at the end you can have the else, it's only the ELSE, and you can put for if all the conditions doesn't satisfy, this else part, the code of this will be executed after that. So the final else if is also option, so you can also write a code like this. For example, if the condition and this part of the code, or else if, so this is the condition, you can write it. So the else part is an optional by using the Perl scripting. Okay, and there is something also called as unless, and this is something which is discouraged, but this is also the way you can do that. Okay, so here in the unless, so you will also check with the condition if the opposite of the, it's the opposite of that of if statement, the previous statement can be written as this. Okay, unless it's the variable, you can, that will be printed, and you can also use this with the else if and the else condition like this. So but it's like a little bit of confusion by using unless, so it's most of the programmers they discourage by using the unless, but this is also one of the way you can also check with the condition. And there is something called as ternary operator, and Perl also provides a ternary operator as a shortcut for the if-else statement like this. This is the syntax. If the value is given and equal to sign, after that a condition will be given, and if this condition satisfies, then if it is true, or else it will give you as a false. For example, we have this. We have a dollar. We have the variable max here, and we have to put a condition here. And if this satisfies, it will print. It will give the value of number variable number 2 into the variable max, or else it will assign the value of number 1 to the dollar max. Okay, so this is the same way if you want to write it by using the if else condition. Okay, so you can write this. So this whole code can be written in the single line by using this kind of ternary operator. Fine. So now next we'll go for the for or the for each loop. Okay, so for, and there is no actual difference with the for or for each, both will satisfy the same way. For example, we can see here the for loop iterates for every element in an array or the list. A basic for the loop in the Perl will look like this. For example, for, and I can declare my variable here, and I will give the array, and for each of these values it will print the variable number. And you can also use the same way for the for by using for each. Okay, so for and for each are both identical. There is no any kind of difference between these two, rather it's just a difference with the kind of the spelling what you use it. Okay, but for each will give the more what you call the explanation for actually what you are doing it here. This loop is one built in, and it assigns, so this is the important part, it assigns the value to this variable by default. Okay, if you don't specify a variable name, so it is the dollar underscore is assumed. By using this you can actually print so the values for the array. So this here, you can example, if you want to code the print the numbers 5, 6, 7 which are given into an array, the numbers, and for each number it will go on printing, and you can see it here, the dollar underscore. By using that you can print the numbers assigned to the array, the numbers. Fine. So now you can also see here the usage of dollar underscore. With this, the operator, the dollar underscore, which is by default, you can shorten your code. For example, we can see it here for each element. Okay, so there is an array, the names, and for each element what you are doing, you are chomping the newland character here. Okay, so if for each of the, by using the operator, the dollar underscore, for each of the values of an array, you are go on printing it. Fine, and this will print in a state by chomping the next line. For example, for this code itself, if you want to use by using a variable, by defining a variable, the same code can be written like this. For example, for each, okay, you have defined, you have given, you are defining the variable dollar name, and you have an array here, and you are chomping the new line character onto the each values you are assigned into an array, and for each, if that is the value, so it will go on printing the value of an array, okay, after chomping it. So these two code are same. So rather by you can shorten your code by using this operator for an array. Fine. And for example, if you want all elements here, so whatever are there in the array, the values which are less than that of 0, you want to set it to 0. Okay, so all those values which are less than 0, you want to set those values in the array to 0. So this is how you can do that. For example, you are declaring a variable number and the array for the numbers, and if the value, if the element of an array, if it is less than that of 0, we will check with the condition, and if it is less, yes, so what we'll do, we will assign the 0 value to that element, so that will be set, the element will be set to 0. So now we will print for all those values of an array, and this code will give an output. As you can see here, all these values are less than, the first 3 values are less than 0, and those are set to 0, and afterwards it remains the same. Okay, this way you can use the for by using for or for each loops. And there is also something called as list. It's not a kind of different from that, but it's the way how you are actually printing, how you are actually using the loop. For example, the for loop is useful for an arrays, but you can use them. For example, you have the list. As you can see here, this is a hash variable. So in this hash variable, these all are the values, the keys and the values for that, and you are checking what you want to do it here. You want to assign, you want to write it these values of an hash in a sentence, okay, and you want to append in between the character, in between the word R, okay. And the next requirement is you want to change from the lowercase the first letter of the keys from the lowercase to uppercase. Here we have libertarians. So here it is the lowercase letter. You want to change it to capital, the uppercase letter, and after appending the R word in between and this onto the value, you want to change, okay, and you want to change this to lowercase letter. Fine. So how you can do this? For example, I will use the for loop and I will sort the keys. First the keys I will take it for all the values of the hash variable. So now here I will declare a variable description, and for the lowercase, if the word, the key for each of the lowercase letter onto the keys of the hash, I will change the variable to uppercase. Okay, for all of these values I will change it to uppercase, and also I will append the word R in between, and I will print the description, the value of that. So after this, what you can see it here, the output looks like this. So as you already know, we have discussed in the arch. So as we have discussed in the hashing, the order will differ. We need not worry on to the order. For example, it is printed in this order. As we can see here, the libertarians anarchists with the jobs. This is on to the third line, and now here, so this is changed to the uppercase and appended with the R, and the value of the libertarians, that is the anarchists with the jobs, is being added here after changing the uppercase letter to the lowercase. Okay, so the description, the values, we are changing it to lowercase here, and all the key values we are changing it to uppercase. So this way we can print it. So by using, so it gives a lot of sense, and here this is what by using the list you can have it here, and for all those values, so we are using for all the values of the hash variable we are using, and this is the way how you can script for the list. Okay, so now we'll move further. We'll at the end we'll also discuss with the examples for this, and there is also something called as while or until loop. Okay, so this is the expression for the block. the block will be executed while the expression is true. Whatever the condition we are checking in the while, when it is true, and whole of the code will be executed. Okay, unless, so if it is not, if it doesn't satisfy, this whole of the code will not be executed. So as you can see here, the value of $I. So until is this satisfies the operation, and if it is true, then this will be printed. And the main difference between the while loop and the for loop is that the while loop iterates until a condition is false. Okay, so this it will repeatedly, so it will execute until this the condition is false. But whereas the for loop, it will iterates over the list, as we have seen in the previous example. It will iterates over the list of those values. It will try to execute the loops repeatedly. Fine. And even with the loops, you have a lot of different built-ins like the last, next, redo, continue. You can just read on to this, and you can explore your control structure knowledge for the Perl. So there are a lot of different things you need to consider onto this. So these are the important and the basic control structures you should know for while you are working on the Perl language. Fine. So now this is the next the part we will be discussing on to the subroutine. Okay. So as you have what you can call in the C language, as we call it as a function. Okay. This we can also call in the Perl language, we define it as like a subroutine. We use the keyword sub. Okay, we use the keyword sub for defining the subroutine, and the name of the subroutine with an ampersand. Okay, so if you want to do access, so we use the ampersand for with the name of the subroutine, then the block of the code in the curly braces which will make up the body of the subroutine. For example, we are defining it here. This is the subroutine for adding the values. Okay, so for $1, it will add, it will increment to 1 the value of the variable n. Okay, and this is the global variable, and it will again print it that. So this subroutine definitions are global. There are no any private subroutines. If you have two subroutine definitions with the same name, the later one will override the earlier one. This is the important part. If you have two subroutine definitions with the same name, then the later one, the later one will override the earlier one. Fine. We'll invoke how to invoke a subroutine. Okay, as we said, it will by using the ampersand. You are using the name, okay, with an ampersand. For example, we had a subroutine here, the add. So how we are invoking? By using the ampersand, and we give the name of the subroutine, and this will print say hello, and added value is 1. The next time it calls, it will added value is 2. Like this, it will go on incrementing for the number of times you are calling this subroutine. Okay, this is a simple example for defining a subroutine and how actually you invoke a subroutine. Okay, so now we'll go further. So this is one of the important part of returning values. What is actually it is returning once the subroutine has been executed? What is that it will return? What is the return value? Okay, so all per subroutines have a return value, so that is also important, right? And there is no distinction between those that the return values and those that don't. Okay, there is no any difference between that. So you call a subroutine and actually you do something with the results, and this means that you do something with the return value of the subroutine. So we'll discuss with using an example. And this is what the important thing, whatever the calculation is last performed in the subroutine is automatically also the return value. The last thing the performed in the definition of a subroutine is what you have the value as a return. Okay, we'll see with an example. For example, we want to add, this is the sum for even and odd values. Okay, So here, so what is the return value? So we are printing it here. After print, we are adding the even and odd variable, the values onto that, and the sum of this will be the return value to this subroutine. Okay, so we'll check with this here. So we have the variable even with a value of 3 and the variable odd with value 4. Okay, so we will declare one variable here, added value. Okay, and I'm calling the subroutine the even and odd. So what it will do, the return value, so add return value for the addition of even and odd variable, it is the value will be 7, and that will be assigned to my variable added value. Okay, so here we have this, for example, you have multi-value. Okay, so what is the multi-value? Okay, added value, what is the multiple value? So now you are multiplying, that is with 3 to the value of what is there after it gets. For example, the sum, for example, you have even and odd value as 3 and 4. So this return value is 7. Now 7 is multiplied with 3, and the variable multi-value will get the value of 21. Right? 7 is multiplied with 3, and now the value of the variable, the multi-value, will be 21, and this is what actually printed. Okay, and you have something like this. After printing, you have the value as 7 and the multi-value as 21. So now with the next step, but suppose consider that you have another, after the last line is something you are printing. What happens here? As we discussed, it is something at the end what you are doing into the declaring the subroutine. Okay, so that is what it is returning. The last expression, you can see it here, is something the printing. Okay, so this last expression is evaluated, and the value is no more returning the added value for the variable even and odd. Okay, it's now printing the print statement. It will hold, this will return value as normally 1. Okay, saying that the printing was successful. Right? So it's not returning the value after adding the variable even or odd. It is returning the value as 1. Right? So we need to be careful after adding what we are returning. So this is the important while we are writing a subroutine, and what is that we want to return a value. Okay, fine. So now here, so we have something, consider that we have a loop inside the subroutine. We have the condition here. Okay, so what is that? It will be returning the value. Right? So here, as you see, the last evaluated expression. Okay, if it is the condition, we have the condition. We are checking the with the variable even is it greater than that of the variable odd. Okay, so what will happen? The last evaluated expression is either, we don't have the condition, it can be either it is the variable even or the variable odd. Okay, and the value of this, one of these variable will be returned. For example, if this condition satisfies, and this the value of even will be the return value, or else it will be the return value will be odd. Okay, you don't know if the return value will be even or odd until you see what those variables hold at that time. Okay, so whatever the value is there, it is that what it will be returning. Right? So this is also the important thing what you need to know while you are writing this subroutine. And there is something called as argument. You want to put, right? So you want to call the subroutine by using some kind of arguments, or you want to assign those values, or you want to check with that. So how the Perl will do it by using the subroutine arguments? You want to pass an argument list into the subroutine. So you need to simply place the list expression into the parenthesis. Okay. So this is my subroutine, the max, and the arguments, the values. So you are putting into the parenthesis and you are invoking the subroutine like this. So what it will do, the Perl will pass the list of the subroutine, this list to the subroutine, and Perl makes the list available for the subroutine to use however it is needed to. Okay, and also for the Perl, it will automatically store the parameter list, and that is the another name for the argument list, into the special array. That is the array. This is the special array variable while the subroutine is executing. Okay, you can also use this operator, the add underscore, right, for the argument list. You can access this array to determine both the number of arguments and even the values of those arguments. This is something you can do it like this. This means that the first subroutine parameters, okay, so what it has, the dollar underscore of that of 0, the second is stored dollar underscore 1, and and so on as to that how many variables you have. So we'll see with an example here. So now you could write a subroutine here. So here what we are calling a subroutine, the larger of even or odd, but instead of using the even, you could use the first parameters by using dollar underscore this operator of that of 0 and after that of 1. So in the max, what is that? The $0, the first argument, is compared with the second argument, and after that we are having the condition, and the return value is something like this. So whatever is the low, it will return after comparing to the subroutine. For example, if you have more arguments, okay, you are passing more arguments than what is being compared. So what can happen here? So the Perl will ignore the extra argument. This is an extra argument, 27. An extra argument, you are not using it here. So this is an extra argument what you are passing, but you are not using it at all here. So Perl will just discard that, right? So it will not do any something there or not. Okay, it's not, it doesn't care about what actually the value. So it will just depend on, it will just check with what is subroutine been used by using the values to the argument, the 0 and 1. Fine. So this is all about the arguments for the subroutine. And what is the private variables in the subroutine? Okay, you can just see here, you can create the private variables called as, it's also called as lexical variables at any time with my operator. For example, you can see it here. So this is what, or I have the new variable $n and n. These are the private variables for this block itself. Okay, these are not the global variables. Okay, you are defining the private variables in the subroutine, the $n and $n. So this will be used within the subroutine for the max, right? So now, given the names to the parameters, whatever it is into the array, so you are assigning it to that, and you are checking with the condition, and you are returning with those values, that like the $n, the first argument or the second argument. So like this, the variables are private to the scope or to the enclosed blocks. Okay, any other $m and $n are totally unaffected by these two values, right? So if you are again using the $m outside the subroutine, so that will have another value, and this is unaffected within that subroutine. So this is about the private variables which you can use for the subroutines. And the return operator, right? So this is one of the important way. If you want to stop your subroutine right away, right, you can return in between by using the return operator. Immediately what it will do, the return operator, it will immediately returns a value from the subroutine, as you can see here in between. So if you want to just go right away in between from while you are defining from the subroutine, you can use this, the right operator. So for example, we can see here I have an array with the values Pilani, Goa, Hyderabad and Dubai. Okay, and this is the result which campus is the Bangalore. Okay, so I want to check, so I want to see that. Okay, so I have this subroutine. I want to check what is the variable what, right? Okay, I'm defining the variable what, and in that I have an array. Okay, So here what the argument has been passed with that of array, I will just check with what. Okay, for each value, this index is 0 to $hash of array. It will check all the elements of an array. Okay, and this will check the variable what I have. So the value of the variable what is Bangalore now. So is it equivalent? So it will check with all the values of the array, that is with the Pilani, with the Goa, with the Hyderabad and with Dubai. Okay, so if it is equivalent, then it will directly return at that time. And if element is not found, as we can see here, this Bangalore is not found with all the campuses of the beds, so it will return the element is not found, it will be -1. The return value is also optional here. You are asking the subroutine to find the index of the Bangalore in the array names, right? I think you are clear onto the returning operator with the subroutine, how you can define the private variables, how you can pass the arguments, okay, by using the Perl language. This is the important, and these are the important steps which we should be clear while you are writing the subroutine. And there are a lot of things you need to get to know while writing the subroutine, and you can increase your knowledge once you do hands-on experience by writing some of the scripts and the examples. Now we will write a script. This is an example. I will be executing this. Okay, I will execute 2 programs by using the loops, and even will also execute one of the program by using the subroutine. Okay, I have this. For example, I have this script for the loop. Okay, what I am doing it here. Okay, so now, so I want to write, I want to just check the standard in is something, it will take the input about what the command value so you are giving, and I am assigning to the dollar my variable number. Okay, and if you have not assigned, if it is 0, okay, if it is 0, then it should return number must be positive, and you enter the number 0, it will print this, right? So what you are doing it here, you are chopping the number of lines. Consider that you have 3 number of lines. Okay, in this what you will be doing, you will be chopping the n value, and you will write all those 3 lines in a single line. Okay, in a single line with the white space in between, with the white space in between. Okay, so it will chop the end of the end line, that is the new line, and once if the line is going to stop, we will stop it. Otherwise what we can do, what we will be doing, we will do the action, we are taking the variable and we will print the value of those line, and the separate value is something, the white space here, and after that the next line, right? The next line what it is there, so that will be printed here. Okay, so this will happen till the end of the lines, and at the end we will print the result. So we will check first, we will run this. As you can see here, so it's asking for the how many lines. Okay, how many lines, I will write it as 4. Okay, now enter. Now what it is doing, it is checking it here, how many lines I have entered 4. Okay, it is greater than 0. Now it is here now into the while loop. Now whatever the lines I am taking, it will chopping and it will assigning to the variable acum, and at the end we will print all the values of the acum. Okay, so now I will write the 4 different sentences. BITS has 3 campuses in India. Enter. Next line, Pilani in north. Okay, Goa in west. Enter. Hyderabad in south. Okay, I will enter it here now. Fine. So now what you are saying, you are jumping the next value of these of each of the line, and you are again printing into the a single line value. So the next line is being chopped here by using the chomp. Okay, so BITS has 3 campuses in India, after that chomping Pilani in the north, next the Goa in the west, and Hyderabad in the south. This is what it will print. This is the by using the loop. We are used the while, the if loop, and also you can use you can also work around by using the other control structures. Fine. So this is the output. Now we'll also run one of the script by using the subroutine. Okay. So here this is our code. We are working on the subroutine, and now so I have a subroutine here. Fine. So what actually I am doing it here, right? So I have the subroutine sent, okay, and I am shifting. So what actually it is doing it here, okay? So here I am passing the argument, the values at the end, right? So these are my values, okay, and what actually I am doing it here. So now I want the value, for example, I want to write it in a sentence. For example, call it as Alex stole, okay, Alex stole, after that the, okay, in between the red wagon, Alex stole the red wagon, okay. The same way Susan ignored the awful pun, right? Select Susan ignored the awful pun, okay. So this is what I want to print, right? So how I can do this? I will just run this script so that you can understand. See it here, okay. So I am working on to the subroutine now. So I have passed the values, the argument Alex stole red wagon. So this is being included, okay, the arguments. In between we have the, okay. How it actually done? As you can see here, I am calling the subroutine here, the first sent, and okay, to the sent it will go and will take all those values in the sub, the verb, adjective, objective, okay, all those values of these arguments, and the substructure, okay, I will call this, and I will use those values of the subject of 0 and 1, okay, and next of that one, and what I am printing it here is the variable verb with including the, and after that the adjective and the objective, right? The same way we also have the variable for the snake birth here at the end is the 99, and we are declaring the 2 variables today and tomorrow, and what we want to do it here, okay. So 99, the snake birth 99, it will happen with the today and tomorrow. The same way the change me, okay, after that what it is the change here with the value 77, okay, at the end, and that is been appended with that, So here as you can see in the sub, the change me is calling here, okay. So this first we have this variable the day. So this now doesn't change in the caller because we are not using it at all, okay. So for example, if we want to change that from the to this, okay, and that here I want to change it to they, okay. Now I will run, okay. So what you can see it here is now the value is changed, it's been appended with this, and they have been changed with the they, okay. So you can run by using this subroutine, okay. You can declare, pass the argument, and you can do a lot of different things into this. And in the next session, so we'll discuss on to the regular expressions, that is also a big chapter, as I said into the introduction part. So there are a lot of things you need to learn in regular expression. We'll discuss of a basic part, what are the regular expression and what you can do onto that. We'll discuss into the next session. Okay, thank you.